Welcome to Soul Study, the podcast where we explore personal growth, spirituality, and the deeper questions of what it means to consciously create a life we love. Think of this as your weekly book club for the soul. Each episode will study powerful ideas from transformative books, reflect how they apply to real life, and gently challenge ourselves to grow together. This isn't about perfection, it's about awareness. It's about remembering that you are energy, you are powerful, and you are always in a state of creation. Here, we take what resonates and leave the rest. So take a breath, open your heart, and get ready to become your most magnetic self. Let's begin today's Soul Study. Hello everyone, Jules here, and welcome back to Soul Study, the podcast to help you become the happiest, healthiest, most magnetic version of you. So, this week is really exciting because we are starting our third book in our series. That is going to be Mastery. So let's talk about last week a little bit. Last week, we had our listener episode for the 4 agreements. So I answered some of your guys' questions, read your guys' comments, that kind of stuff. It was really cool. Thank you all for sending things in. It was really awesome to see how that book has impacted and inspired each of you. Now, our soul challenge last week was whose truth was it anyway, which is to pick a criticism or belief about yourself and ask whose truth is it really? Was it yours or was it someone else's? So this week, like I mentioned, we are moving on to our book Mastery. Once again, if you don't have the book, I will have links in the description below for you to be able to purchase it for yourself, whether if you want it in person or as an audiobook. Those options are down there. So today we are going to go over a little bit about the author, that is Robert Greene. We're going to talk a little bit about him, why we should listen to him, and kind of what this book is all about. We're also going to dive into the introduction and chapter 1. So without further ado, let me read you a little biography about our dear friend here, Robert Greene. I'm just going to read it right off my screen. Robert Greene is an American author known for his books on strategy, human behavior, and power. Before he found his footing as an author, he cycled through dozens of jobs, working as a construction worker, translator, and Hollywood scriptwriter, none of which he felt quite fit. He studied classics at the University of Wisconsin and later earned a degree from the University of California, Berkeley. And he said that this drifting period, though frustrating, gave him a front row seat to office politics, ambition, and manipulation, the material he'd later turn into his life's work. His turning point came in the mid-1990s when he met a book packager in Los Angeles who was struck by Greene's stories about power and manipulation in the workplace. That conversation became the inspiration of The 48 Laws of Power, published in 1998, which took years to build momentum but eventually became a phenomenon. It was embraced everywhere from Silicon Valley boardrooms to hip-hop culture. Greene then followed it with The Art of Seduction, The 33 Strategies of War, and The 50th Law, a collaboration with the rapper 50 Cent, before writing Mastery in 2012. In Mastery, Greene channels that same instinct for pattern finding into the stories of history's greatest masters, arguing that mastery isn't about raw talent, but about years of disciplined apprenticeship and self-knowledge. Today, he lives in Los Angeles, where he continues to write and speak about strategy, power, and the long road to expertise. So that is a little bit about our author. He has written many books. Mastery was not his first one. We might also read the 48 Laws of Power. I'm not quite sure. We'll see what you guys think. But so far, since I've read the introduction and chapter 1 of Mastery, I am loving this book. So the introduction does kind of talk about how the book's going to go. It's going to bring up stories from different masters and also translate like how they became masters and what you can do to kind of do that as well. That's kind of what the introduction tells us about. So I pulled quotes only from chapter 1 today, but do make sure you read the introduction because it does set you up very nicely for how the book's going to go. So without further ado, let's dive into chapter 1. Our first quote today is going to be on page 26. This quote says, "We are literally inspired, the Latin word meaning something from outside breathing within us. At your birth, a seed is planted. That seed is your uniqueness. It wants to grow, transform itself, and flower to its full potential. Your life's task is to bring that seed to flower, to express your uniqueness through your work. You have a destiny to fulfill." So I thought this was a great quote to start us off because this first chapter is all about discovering your inner calling and finding your life's task. So now what the book says is that we are each born with a unique purpose in life, and that is what our life task is. Now, we talk a lot about, as humans, finding our purpose in life, and this book states that we can more easily see what that life task is, what that purpose is, if we look back to when we were children. When we're children, we don't have our ego set in. We don't have the rules of society upon us. So what we were drawn to when we were children is a lot closer to our life's tasks and our life's purpose, because we are still connected with what truly lights us up on the inside before fears and ego gets in the way. It does sound kind of daunting, especially that last line saying you have a destiny to fulfill. Now, whether you believe in destiny or fate or free will, which I think it's kind of a combination of everything. I think we do have a purpose, but because we have free will, we don't always go to that purpose, or we can choose to have a different one. That's just kind of what I believe. But what's really cool about right now, in this time in human history, we are living in a time where there is access to so many different tools to help us figure out what is our life's task, what is our purpose. And it doesn't mean it's going to be easy because we have tools to help us, but it means it's going to be more possible. Like, especially for us women, oh my goodness, for us women, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, we didn't really have the opportunity to pursue a lot of our dreams. That's just kind of how it was. But now in this day and age, it is a lot more possible for us to explore and find out what really does light us up and what is our life's task. So what is kind of cool is that in the book, they talk through different masters throughout history, and they kind of show us like how what they were doing in their childhood led them or guided them to find out what their life task was in the future. And what's cool about this, which we'll explain a little bit later, is that sometimes people don't start on their life task until a little bit later in life, but we'll get to that. So where have I found this quote specifically reflect a little bit in my life? Now, for me, it has been a very recent discovery figuring out my life's task, and I still think that it is something that I am exploring. But kind of what I'm seeing for myself is that looking back on my life, and specifically my childhood, I loved telling stories. Listening to stories, telling stories, and making up stories. I would write things down. I would come up with music video concepts whenever I'd listen to music, or even like movie ideas that I would want to create someday. And even when I was dancing, I wanted to try to have a story behind the reason I was dancing. Life definitely got in the way, I will say. I felt like I really wasn't connected to telling stories for many, many years. And I'm not going to lie, it's only recently I rediscovered that the reason I love doing art is because I love to tell stories. Now, I remember this all the way back even to when I was in like grade school playing pretend on the playground with my friends. A lot of the times I would come up with the concept and the story of what we were pretending to play. Now, I realized that my love for being a storyteller, I love doing that through different mediums. And luckily for me, my parents encouraged me to follow my passions. And, we're like, okay, you can go to college to become a dancer. Yes, you can move to Vegas. I support you to move to Vegas and explore your artistry. And that has been super amazing to have the support to follow my passions. And thankfully, I have also had the courage to pursue them, because it isn't just about other people being like, yeah, do it. The biggest thing is about you having the courage to pursue them. And I'm so thankful because not a lot of people have the support and encouragement from their parents or their peers. So if you don't have that, you don't need it to pursue your goals. It definitely does make it a little bit easier, I will say. Now, practical applications for how you can apply this quote to your everyday life is number one, we got to figure out what the life task is and how can you do that? Think about what you enjoy doing in your childhood. Things that just lit you up and that you had a lot of fun with as a kid. And also with that now, comparing to back then, compare it to now. What makes you feel excited and alive right now? Just kind of ask yourself that question. And if it's nothing, that's okay. That just means you have the amazing opportunity to explore, which is really cool. Let's move on to our next quote and dive a little bit deeper into this life task situation. Our next quote is going to be on page 27, so just the next page. It says, "The process of following your life's tasks all the way to mastery can essentially begin at any point in life. The hidden force within you is always there and ready to be engaged." What I absolutely adore about this quote is that it tells us that no matter your age, it is never too late to start living out your life's task. Because even if your body ages, your life task, the thing that brings you the highest excitement and joy, doesn't go away. That is still with you your entire life. And I think society makes us think that when we get older, there is more and more that we can't do, that we are limited more and more. But I don't think that that is necessarily true. I feel at any age, we can discover more about who we are and what our purpose is in this world. And some personal stories and things that I have personally seen to reflect this is that number one, reading these examples in these books that they have in the first chapter, it shows that some of the people in there that have become masters in their field, they didn't start pursuing that career necessarily when they were in their 20s. Some people, they started that career in their 30s. Some people start their career in their 40s. And some people even start it in their 50s or 60s or 70s. And it's really cool to see these people. One example that I have personally seen is on Instagram. I forget his handle. Let me figure it out. Hold on. What is his? Oh, I'm locked out of Instagram right now. I try not to be on social media, so I set a timer and it locks me out after 10 minutes of being on Instagram. So currently locked out. But if I figure out who it is, I will tag him below. But anyway, there is this man on Instagram who is 74 years old. And I think maybe only a couple years ago, when he was maybe in his late 60s or even just turned 70, he started training aerial and pole and like all these different apparatuses, circus apparatuses, having not had a lot of training in the beginning. In each one of his posts, he's like, this is 74. And it's him doing something amazing. Is it the most beautiful technique in the world? No. But the thing is, he's doing it and he looks good. And it's amazing to see him living out his life's purpose, showing people his excitement for the world at an age where a lot of people think that we can't do stuff like that anymore. So you see, if you set your mind to something, you can still do it. So no matter what age you are listening to this podcast right now, you can decide to start pursuing your life's task at any time. Doesn't matter how old you are. Not just him the person I saw on Instagram, not just the people that we've been reading in the book, but if you look online, there are so many famous people that we see that didn't achieve their greatest achievements until much later in life. I think like Martha Stewart even, like I think she was like maybe 50 when she came out with her first like amazing cookbook, like something like that. There's so many people that you can look up and just be like, celebrities that got successful after the age of 35. And like you can look it up and see how many people there are. And there are so many actors, so many writers, so many people that pursue their crafts a little bit later than society maybe expects us to. Now, I've noticed that pursuing your life's task within my own life, at least what I believe currently is my life's task, it could change with age, you never know. What I've seen in my life is that pursuing your life's task is not easy, but it is possible. So for this quote specifically, how can you relate this to your everyday life? Is read the examples of the people who have changed their lives later in life. It's a huge inspiration and it does show you that you are not behind, you are not a failure, and that you can do it no matter your age. So I would suggest looking them up and keep reading the book because it's really cool. Let's move on to quote number 3 and talk a little bit more about finding our life's tasks. Our next quote is going to be on page 31. This quote says, "In order to master a field, you must love the subject and feel a profound connection to it. Your interest must transcend the field itself and border on the religious." Now, if you're following me on Instagram, I have a really funny story about reading that quote and what happened to me that day, which I will say when I get to how this quote reflects my everyday life. But let's talk about the quote itself. What this means is that your life's task is almost going to be as if it is a religious practice. And what does that mean? A religious practice is something that you are dedicated to and feel deeply connected with, that it almost feels like there is something greater than you behind it. It's something that you're going to keep coming back to no matter the results that you are seeing, because it is a part of you and driven by love and connection and excitement, not driven by results. That's kind of what it's all about. Your life's task, it doesn't mean your life's task is not going to have results. It can in cool ways, but the drive isn't the result. The drive is the love of the thing itself. Now let me tell you about how I saw this in my everyday life. So how I've seen this in my life is that this feeling of drive and motivation and dedication has been entering my life in many different ways. Now, there's one project specifically that I'm working on, which is, I've talked about it before, it is our 13-episode web series with 8 music videos inside of it that has been taking us 8 years to accomplish. But for that project specifically, we have more we want to make after this in the same universe. There is like 5 seasons that we want to make. And him and I both decided very early on when we were creating this project that we were going to make it no matter what. If people don't like it, if it doesn't work out, we are just still gonna make it. We're gonna tell the whole story no matter what the results are, because we aren't looking at the end results. What we're doing is we just want to get this story out into the world. It's something that we have to do. So that's kind of what it's talking about not chasing the end result, but just doing it because you feel like you have to. And this is kind of how I've been feeling about most of my projects lately. Of course, I want them to succeed. Like, that would be awesome. I would love for them to succeed. It would actually help a lot financially if they did. But I don't care if they do or don't, because I'm just going to continue to make it no matter what, because it's a part of me and I need to get it out. Specifically with artistic projects. Yours might be different. Yours might be research. Yours might be studying history. Yours might be building something. Like, yours could be different. But if the thing is, like, you just need to get it out. That's pretty much what it is. And you're not really caring about the end result. And the story I have about this, which is kind of a bit of a synchronicity, but I think it's very fascinating, is that the night before I was reading this book, I was working my go-go job and I was dancing up on the box, having a good time, just really feeling connected because I love to dance and I love to try to express my energy, and I was really feeling it. So this one guy gives me a tip and I was like, I need to thank him when I get off the box. So I get down off the box, I go over and I say, thank you so much for the tip. I really appreciate it. And usually people are like, you're just so pretty to watch. Like, I love watching you dance. It's really inspiring. It makes me smile. It looks like you're having a good time. Those are the usual compliments I get. This man looks to me. He's like, first of all, he's like, what's your name? And I was like, oh, my name is Jules. And he's like, Jules, it's really nice to meet you. I need to let you know that it was like having a religious experience watching you dance up there. You looked so divine. And I was like, that is so funny. I have never got that one before. And I told him, I was like, that's the first time I ever got that. That's so funny. Thank you. And he was like, I just really needed you to know that. Keep that with you. And I was like, okay, thank you so much. Cut to like maybe 12 hours later, I'm reading this book and that quote comes out of your life's connection should border on a religious experience pretty much. And I was like, that's kind of synchronistic. I would like to take that as a sign from the universe that I'm on the right track. So I just found that kind of funny. And if you guys are doing this work, you might have funny moments like that pop up in your life as well. The universe giving you little signs of being like, yes, you're doing well. Good job. So just keep that in mind. Be on the lookout for those signs. Now ask yourself, if there is something that you would do if you weren't being paid or recognized for it, would you still do it anyway? No payment, no recognition. Is there something that you would do anyway because you just love doing it? Let's move on to our last quote of the day. That is quote number 4 on page 43. And this quote says, "The way back requires a sacrifice. You cannot have everything in the present. The road to mastery requires patience. You will have to keep your focus on the 5 or 10 years down the road, when you will reap the rewards of your efforts. The process of getting there, however, is full of challenges and pleasures." So this quote is cool because it definitely tells us what it's going to most likely be like for you. And it's not going to always be sunshine and rainbows. This quote shows how it is challenging to get to mastery of anything, even your life's task. And what I have found is that your why and connection to your life's task must be strong enough, must be big enough to get you through the challenges and the hard times. Your vision of 5 to 10 years down the road must be more desirable than your need for instant gratification. You will see ups and downs in your life. And when the downs are happening, you must remind yourself of why you're doing this. You must look at that vision of 5 or 10 years down the road and be like, yes, that is my encouragement to get me through this challenge right now. It is so real. It is so true. And I'm not quite there yet. Quite haven't seen the results yet, but I will keep you guys updated because for me, this web series we have been working on for 8 years. 8 years. Honestly, if we knew it was going to take 8 years, we probably wouldn't have done it in the first place. But now that we are here, we're going to see what happens. There were times within this project, many times, might I add. Currently, a challenge is happening right now. We have had so many obstacles pop up. So many, some to the point where it's like, I don't even think we can finish the project, but we kept going. We kept looking at the future and being like, this is what we want to achieve. This is what we want to do. We need to figure out and push through these obstacles in order to achieve our goals. And we did, and we found solutions, and we learned so much from finding those solutions. Now, the reason we're able to continue with this project is because we have not lost the vision. We have kept the vision alive. Sometimes we struggled to do so, but we kept it alive. It was definitely not easy, and it's definitely still not easy because we currently are going through another obstacle right now, but we're getting close to the end. That's why I'm talking about it so much, because we are almost We are almost there. We are almost there. We're in the final stretch. We're in the final stretch. It is hard, but following your dreams and your life's task is the most rewarding feeling that we will have in this life, because you will feel so in alignment, so excited, so full of love and purpose that even when it is hard, you feel good about it, because you know what your vision is. I'm not going to lie, I'm still figuring out my life's task. I'm still working on it. And every time I work on something that I believe is part of my purpose, even through frustration and not being paid and through people's judgments, I still love doing it. So remember, even when doing the things that you feel the most desire for, the most pleasure from, the most excitement about, challenges will pop up. And just keep remembering that even through the challenges, it is worth it to keep going. So for this quote, applying this to your everyday life is just, number one, whatever the thing is, whatever you think your life's task is, whatever the thing that lights you up and you feel excited about, remember, number one, that you can do it. You can do it. That's the first one. And then the second one is just try to do something that you feel inspired by, even if it's small. Start with something that you feel inspired by, even if it will not give you a reward besides just the satisfaction of doing it. Whether that's painting, writing, building something, carpentering, researching something, learning about something new. You're not going to get anything from it maybe right away that you can show people wow, look, see this thing I did? Awesome. But as long as you are enjoying the satisfaction of doing it, that's the important part here. So just try to maybe do something that you feel like you'll feel satisfied by. And that's all I have for us today for chapter 1. There is a lot more detail and advice and story examples within the first chapter itself. But since I cannot read this book to you, you are going to have to read it for yourself. Let's move on to our 3 journal prompts for the week and also our soul challenge for this week. Journal prompt number 1. What did you love doing as a child before anyone told you what you should be doing? Do you still have that thing in your life in some form today? Number 2, is there something you would keep doing even if you were never paid, recognized, or applauded for it? What does that tell you about your life's task? Journal prompt number 3, what is a dream you have that you've still been putting off because it feels too far away or too late? What would change if you decided just to start today anyway? So those are our journal prompts. I really like them. I hope that they help you discover a little bit more about yourself and maybe even some hints to what your life task could be. So let's move on to our soul study wheel spin. All right, let's give our wheel a spin. I still have to add ones for this book in, but I will do that next week. So this is kind of from the last couple books. Okay, we got Mirror Mirror. Let me tell you guys what Mirror Mirror is all about. Mirror Mirror is to say one affirmation about yourself aloud in the mirror every single morning this week. So every single morning, you're going to hype yourself up this week with those challenges. So let me know what affirmations you want to tell yourself in the mirror, or if you have any good affirmations that you already tell yourself and you can share with all of us. Please let us know in the comments below. So that's it for chapter 1 of Mastery. We are diving into our 3rd book. I am really excited about this one. I'm already loving it. So for next week, we are going to read all of chapter 2, which ends on page 91. These chapters are a little bit longer. They are a little bit thicker. So it is going to require, I think, a little bit more reading for us if we want to keep it going each week. But like I said, you do not have to watch these once a week. You can take your time with it, wait until you're done with the chapter, and then come listen to the episode itself. But I am really excited about this book. I already really like it. Like I said, this is my first time reading it along with all of you as well. Remember, if you do not have the book, the links to the physical book and the audiobook are in the description below. Feel free to leave comments if you do have already some questions or thoughts about this book, or if you've read it before, let me know what you think about it. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. Remember, you can follow the podcast on YouTube under Soul Study, or you can follow it on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Amazon Podcast, all under Soul Study as well. If you want to follow me and learn more about my life and the other projects I have going on, you can follow me on Instagram and on YouTube at Dream Life Jewels. That is my handle there. So feel free to come connect with me there and we can talk about this fun stuff. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Remember, take what resonates, leave the rest, and I hope you have an amazing week becoming your happiest, healthiest, most magnetic version of you. And until next time, bye.